Welcome to VSB After the Bell. I'm your host, Gianna Chell. With deep gratitude and respect, we are honored to be learning and unlearning on the ancestral and unceded lands of the Hamathquiam, Skohomish Ohomeom, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. The Vancouver School Board is among the most diverse school systems in Canada, with an annual enrollment of approximately 50,000 students from kindergarten to grade 12 and adult education students. April is Earth Month throughout the district, from the Student-Led Sustainability Conference and the district-wide Professional Development Session on April 22nd, to Earth Day celebrations and the solar eclipse on April 8th. Staff and students spent the month learning about our planet and how to take meaningful steps to take care of it. There's a lot of information in the world when it comes to going green. How do you know which actions to take, and how are we teaching students about sustainability? Joining me today is Coordinator of Sustainability, Ashley Bangsund, along with Kara Loudon. Thank you all for being here. And can you please introduce yourselves to our listeners?
Thanks for having us. My name is Ashley Bangsund. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator here at the VSB, and my portfolio is super broad and varied. Sustainability is a topic that touches every aspect of life, and it's similar in my portfolio. So I support students and teachers throughout the district on various initiatives, and I also support operations and the energy management portfolio too.
And I'm Kara Loudon, and I am a grade 4 and 5 teacher at Shwakwasett Crosstown. I have been teaching in the district since 2016 and have been involved with Ashley and sustainability ever since I began.
So I know that the VSB is very much committed to sustainability. I know that back in 2010, the Board of Trustees, they approved a sustainability framework that set the vision for VSB to be the greenest and most sustainable school district in North America. That's no small feat. So with this in mind, Ashley, can you give us an overview of the key sustainability initiatives currently being implemented across the district?
Yeah, well, in 2018, we developed a sustainability plan for the district to guide our work in these areas and kind of narrow it down because sustainability is so broad. That was adopted by the board, and we arranged it into 5 theme areas. So education, green spaces, resource conservation and climate change, transportation, and leadership. And so we have a plethora of initiatives and projects going on that touch on each of those theme areas. We have a whole bunch of goals and actions kind of therein that are moving those areas forward towards becoming the greenest school district in North America, which I don't know really how you measure that, but we're trying to get there.
So Ashley, do you have any concrete examples of initiatives that are part of the sustainability plan that you mentioned?
Yeah, one of our best and most successful initiatives is our sustainability grant program, which has been an annual program. And that is where we fund school-level initiatives that are student-led and teacher-led, up to $1,000 per secondary and up to $500 per elementary. And all we ask is that it touches on one of the themes in our sustainability plan.
I was going to say, and I think I've applied every year and been successful every year. And most of the focus has been either on active transportation, so making it possible for kids to walk or roll or ride to school in a safe way, making it accessible for families. So that might be literally having a selection of gumboots and rain slickers so that people can be walking in the rain and not driving cars. And then also, I would say our biggest one is on waste reduction and focusing on doing climate action at school. And that is fun for me because that's really driven by the kids. So we've done everything from making an air band for clean oceans to planting a school garden to having a nature photo contest. And so really it is, once we get the go ahead, it becomes sky's the limit for the kids.
What did you do this year with the grant?
This year we've had 3 initiatives. So the first term of school, we focused on the nature photo contest. We wanted to really activate why are we doing this? Why are we the green team? Why do we care? And it was very easy to see. It's because there's so much beauty around us. Even I teach right downtown, and we have a very small natural space, but it's a haven. And then the waste reduction, the zero waste, we have our zero waste club, and so we collect soft, flexible plastics at school, and so we're really excited to be part of the new pilot. Thank you, Ashley and Laura. Really excited to be part of the new pilot because waste reduction at schools, I think, is the key way we can be the greenest school district in North America, because the amount of waste produced at schools is substantial, and it really is the kids, and they are completely aware of what they need to do and how they can do it.
How are you teaching the kids about waste reduction? Or like, for instance, my kids' school, they do a zero waste policy. Yes. And, some parents, I've heard it's just an excuse for them to bring garbage back home instead of throwing it out at the school. But what's the philosophy behind this?
I think in the case of your kids' school, where they have a zero waste policy and all the waste is coming back home, it does one of two things. It illuminates for parents how much waste is a part of the lunch. Mm-hmm. And so there's an attempt to encourage using more reusables and doing buying in bulk and doing whatever. And at home, you can more easily have more recycling options, right? You can save yourself plastics, go to the depot, every month or whatever. And then the other thing is that it saves the district money. So we spend an awful lot of money on waste hauling.
So we do two things. We actively promote zero waste, so we encourage reusable containers or things that you can go back and forth. And we have incentives, also known as prizes, which are reusable containers.
Which is helpful with the grant.
Exactly. But we at our school, we have been collecting, all the schools I've worked at, we've been collecting zero waste soft plastic wrappers on site as a club. And then it is a staff member that then takes the responsibility for taking the waste to the Zero Waste Center.
As a volunteer. That's a volunteer initiative because, our waste program doesn't include soft plastics in our, And so, that's always, lots of schools do it. And that's because a teacher or a parent or an admin has taken it upon themselves to go that extra mile and take those materials to the depot.
Because if you look in all of our waste bins at school, we have an organics waste, we have mixed recycling, we have landfill. And once you add the zero waste bin, which many schools do, almost everything ends up in zero waste. It's granola bar wrappers, it's chip bags, it's crackers, whatever, lids to yogurt. And the kids are shocked at the end of the day when they're like, there's nothing in the black garbage can. Right. Yeah. So it's really successful. Kids can see it right before their eyes.
Yeah. And I want to build on that because this is part of our opportunity as an educational organization trying to be sustainable is we have thousands and thousands of learners who are ready to learn about sustainability. And then they go out into the world and they become our leaders and our business people and our professionals, and they take that with them. And that's the legacy that the VSB can have as the most sustainable school district.
Well, and then we've seen it in action too. So we have the granting that happens at elementary and secondary level, but then I was able to be a part of this wonderful VSBSC, the VSB Sustainability Connection, which is a group of amazing young people in high school I was part of their mentorship program, the Cultivate program. So they were working with mentors in professions centered around sustainability and action. And each of the students came up with a project, and I was lucky to work with students who then came in and did sustainability presentations in the classrooms. And it's really nice to see that they remember having workshops when they were little, and now they're the ones going in and doing it.
And I remember when I was growing up, there was a big emphasis on reduce, reuse, recycle. Are we still teaching kids about this? Have we evolved in the 3 R's?
When it comes to recycling, it's if you use it once and then recycle it, is that really limiting the waste?
It's only one step up from landfill, if you think of it that way, right? So before you even get to the point of putting something in the blue bin, there were a series of decisions before then, right? So we kind of say there's more R's now. People like the 3 R's, they're familiar with it. Yes. So, maybe there's like 5 or 6 R's now.
Yeah, exactly. There's like repair.
Refuse is the first one. So refuse what's not necessary.
Okay.
So some of the waste that we're incurring that's not necessary, try to refuse it. Reduce what is necessary. We can't get away from some of it, right? And we're not making the packaging, right? So we're just people. We're trying to, feed our families and do our best. Exactly. So reduce what is necessary. Reuse and repair. So we don't need to be throwing things away as soon as they're showing signs of wear. We can repurpose or repair, find a different use for something, or patch the knees in our jeans and all that kind of stuff. Then recycle. And we like to include recover there because recycling is materials recovery. Recycling exists because that material is like still useful. It can be melted down and made into something else, right? So we like to sort of include recovery in that so that we can shift our mindset a little bit to be less about like, it's this mysterious recycling and more explicit about, no, we're recovering something here. This isn't going to waste. It will be recovered. And that can even be said of the energy, because some waste gets incinerated. But the energy produced from incineration doesn't go into the atmosphere. It goes into the electricity grid. So it does get used. And then garbage.
Okay. So, speaking of recovery, I've heard about our recycling, what's the point of recycling? First, I've heard myths, if you contaminate an organics bin, for instance, with some plastic, then that entire bin, I think up to like a certain percentage, then an entire bin is gone to waste. Or I've even heard that it's no use to recycle because then it just gets shipped to some third world country, and the pollution that it takes to ship. Like, what's the deal here? What actually happens with the recycling process?
So when the load goes to the processor, they do have a little bit of person power to be able to pull stuff out that's obvious. Okay, so not everything. If there's an accidental chip bag in the organics bin, it's not the end of the world. Okay. But if there's a lot, then the people at the depot or the processor, thank you, they have to make a judgment call. And they have to say, that's too contaminated. Mm-hmm. It's not worth our while. Mm-hmm. That needs to go to garbage. Then, if it goes to garbage, it can go one of two ways. The first way is it goes to the landfill in Delta, or a contaminated load might go to the incinerator. So it's called waste to energy. Mm-hmm. And there's a plant in Burnaby, and there's a bit of recovery there because they'll incinerate it and they use the energy from the incineration to power turbines, which generates electricity. So, but we don't get to choose which it would go to, if it goes to landfill or waste to energy. It kind of depends on the waste movements of that day even. And so our advice is for people when they don't know what to do is put it in the garbage this time, because you can't contaminate the garbage. So put it in the garbage this time, and before next time, figure it out and do better.
And I think one of the big myths that limits people's incentive around recycling and waste reduction is just that. They think, it's just going to be shipped away, and it's actually not going to be recycled. But British Columbia is actually, so there was a big documentary that highlighted across Canada, but we really are the exception in British Columbia because of the model that we have with Recycle BC. So essentially, the people who are producing the waste are paying to have that waste recovered, which is different than the rest of the country. Yeah.
So, and what it has meant is that there have been industries that have come up right here in BC, that do innovative recycling, and they're doing better recycling than anywhere else in the country. And that's why we're starting to see soft plastics recovery, because Recycle BC, which is the provincial overseeing body for,
funded by the people who make the waste.
That's right.
Essentially.
Right. Are working with like an industry recycler, a plastic recycler, and they've done a whole bunch of research and development to best deal with soft and crinkly plastics. Okay. And so we're really super excited to announce that we're going to be able to launch a soft plastics collection program here in the VSB.
Yay!
It's on a pilot, so it's going to be 1 month to start in the month of May.
Yeah.
And Recycle BC is sponsoring it. They're delivering all the collection bins and everything. 50 schools have signed up.
Wow, 50, wow. 50,
half our schools.
Yeah, that's half of our schools.
And not only that, but it's a fundraiser. So Recycle BC is going to collect all the plastic, weigh it, and then the schools will get $2 per kilogram.
So there's another incentive.
Yeah. So that's really exciting to hear. Okay, so 50 schools will be participating in this 1 month long pilot.
And it's been entirely voluntary for schools to sign up. And so we only opened a week ago, the signups. Wow. So to have 50 schools have volunteered to come forward, this is an important issue.
I guess the hope is to expand the pilot.
Yes, that's the hope. And I think from Recycle BC's perspective, they're wanting to, increase awareness of and increase the practice of save your soft plastics. Usually because recycling is a business and those plastics actually get purchased by a recycler, the haulers sometimes adjust what they will and won't accept based on market factors.
Interesting. It's kind of like a stock market that's happening.
It's definitely when a lot of kids are like, I don't know what I'm going to do when I grow up. I'm like, think about waste, because there will be a future for you. If you think about what we do with, where my school is, we think about wastewater and how that's being recovered energy. And there's just so many opportunities for critical and creative thinking to be a part of our everyday lives.
Absolutely. And we will never be away from waste. Ever. When we hear the term zero waste. Yeah. And it sounds daunting, doesn't it? Zero waste? How? It seems impossible. And so I like to think of it more as a philosophy. It's a set of principles. It's this refuse, reduce, reuse, repair. It's that philosophy. We can reduce waste in almost every aspect of our lives. That's not going to be that hard, really. So we'll never be away from waste, but it's what happens after that waste goes into the bin that could get us closer to zero, right? It's that recovery part.
So then, Kara, how do you teach or how do you influence your students and teach them about this waste policy or sustainability? Do you incorporate that into the curriculum? How does that all work?
Absolutely. So there is actually specific curriculum around waste reduction and around civic responsibility and personal and social responsibility as part of our core competencies. But the first thing I do is get them outside. So that, for me, is the most important pillar in our sustainability plan, is having the connection to the natural world. Where I teach, almost all of my students live in high rises, and they have exposure to the natural world, but to be able to actually have a relationship with a place that is natural and wild and changes with the seasons and looks different when they haven't been there for 2 weeks, and other parts of the world are living there. So there might be a hummingbird this week, and we see a seal. We're still waiting to see an orca in False Creek. I've got my fingers crossed. But that is the first, because we know many educators know that really to have students be motivated and compassionate about the world around them, they have to have their why. And their why is because, when you think of why I have a connection to the natural world, is because I grew up on the ocean and climbing trees and making mud pies. And if you don't have that initial connection that's part of your identity, it's sort of hard to...
It's a disconnect.
So I do honestly think it's an equity issue as well. I think absolutely. Students being able to have that opportunity as part of their learning. And as we now say with our land acknowledgement, acknowledgement, the unlearning. So being able to be out on the land, connecting with the natural world is actually a way of learning and unlearning some of our unsustainable practices.
Yeah, exactly. We have a quote right here on our sustainability plan that's from David Sobel, who's an author and a researcher and a champion for like the children in nature movement. And he says, if we want children to flourish, we need to give them time to connect with nature and love the earth before we ask them to save it. And that's true of kindergarten all the way through to grade 12. Like, what we want to see is to get our students on a pathway to environmental engagement that's age appropriate at every stage. So, like, in the earliest years, it's developing a relationship to the places that matter to them.
Right. Like their schoolyard, or like the stream, or like the big tree in front of the school, or like the park down the road, or the garden, being that there's a place that is important to them.
Exactly.
And that they are important too.
And as they're developing as people, their worldview starts growing, right? And that's when, some awareness, right? You can start to introduce the injustices that are happening or the problems that we're seeing at school with waste and things like that. But it has to be in lockstep with their development as people, because there's a psychological, but there's a potential for psychological damage if we introduce crises too soon. Yeah. Yeah, and then it can backfire. There's the term for it is called ecophobia. And if people are scared off of environmental issues, they disconnect from their natural, the natural order, their natural desire to be a part of nature and be serving nature gets disconnected, and they turn away.
So we teach hope and joy, and that there's a cycle to everything, that there are moments where things are flourishing and moments where they're not, and that we actually play a role in how we and our environment thrives.
What about the March for Stronger Climate Action, especially Greta Thunberg, who, really spoke to young people because she is a young person, and, created this march around the world. And I know that thousands of students in VSB participate. How does that correlate to what you mentioned earlier about this phobia against climate action?
Well, when students start to enter secondary school, they're ready, developmentally appropriately ready to take action, right? And to start broadening their worldview and thinking about big picture issues. That's totally healthy and normal for kids that age to be experimenting with that and kind of building an identity and building a set of values that matters to them. And so I think it fits perfectly.
So if you have younger kids then?
I was going to say, and I think actually it starts for each. I mean, this year teaching grade 4 and 5, I have a lot of leaders, and some of them are motivated by their passion, which might be dance or theater, and incorporating, how can we do a schoolyard cleanup, but also maybe do a performance about it, which is great. One student is very concerned about raising awareness about axolotls in the wild and tying that into the fights of Indigenous communities and clean water. And so by building on their passions, and they can see the actions that they can do in front of them.
Yeah, and one thing too that's an interesting aspect of life these days, not to sound too old, but is how much smaller the world is and how much more aware our young people are of global issues and how much more aware they are of intersecting issues. When we were kids and you brought up the 3 R's, right? It's recycling. We're going to do it for the planet. And it was smog is bad. And then, then the next generation learning about climate change. And then the next generation, it's climate action. And then it's reconciliation. And there's it seems to be building and building on the awareness of all kinds of issues and an awakening to how those issues interplay, and because the world is so connected and it's kind of smaller culturally speaking.
Well, and I think Vancouver as well, because of our focus on promoting Indigenous knowledge and Indigenous ways of knowing and being and learning, and in my case as a settler, unlearning, is deeply connected to the ideas of sustainability. So age appropriately, when I'm teaching sustainability to someone in grade 2, that's around raising salmon and understanding, many Indigenous communities that would refer to themselves as salmon people, and harvesting the honorable harvest and knowing that you only take what you need. And that's a really clear and explicit way to have sustainability be something obvious. They're here to provide, but I only take what I need.
And what's important about that too is that type of teaching is based in experience.
Very much.
It's not just telling kids, right, what sustainability is.
Which, again, with our focus in VSB on inclusion in classrooms, which is why I believe that nature and place-based and experiential education is fundamentally inclusive education, because everyone can participate and have the experience. And then how they learn and engage and grow from that and share their learning, that's where we see the competency scale come out, and kids grow and learn. But it is really an opportunity for everyone to participate actively in their learning.
So as we look to the future, what are you most excited about in terms of sustainability education?
Well, experiential learning. I am really interested in unlearning a lot of the systems of school that have been primarily oppressive. And I really see that the voices of young people, especially marginalized young people, being supported by their families and by their teachers at school, their elders in the community. I think that the kids really are the beacon of hope. They know that they have lots of work cut out for them. They know that it's important work, and they know that they're supported. So I'm just most excited to see the future leaders that I really do see coming up.
Oh yeah, no, I just shared that with the students, and I think that's why it's so important to support them properly. Let's not forget their children, even our most leadershipy leaders. They're still kids. They don't have fully developed brains yet. I mean, imagine what they're going to be like when they're fully developed. But it's so important to wrap around them and support them in these goals and initiatives that they're working towards, because they care so deeply. It's so inspiring to watch. And I don't want them to run out of steam. I don't want them to run out of hope. No, exactly. And so I love that we have a movement here in the VSB of educators like Kara and colleagues who are doing the work. They're with the students every day. I can't think of anything more important.
We're lucky because I work with colleagues in all over the province, and then actually all over Canada, really focused on this kind of education that is geared towards nature and place-based and experiential. And we are an anomaly. Our wonderful sustainability department in VSB, having this plan, we have shared this plan across the country. It is so clearly outlined, and it is really accessible. So there's something that everyone can do to work towards this plan.
The VSB, in adopting this plan and enacting this plan, has positioned us as a leader in this work, and we get requests for meetings from other school districts around the province to advise on their next steps in sustainability. So that feels really positive and hopeful and really real. We're doing it. We're going to be the greenest.
We're there. We're going to be the greenest.
It's very clear that sustainability is a key priority for us. And as you know, we chip away at it. We're definitely making strides as much as we can. I want to thank you, Ashley, and I want to thank you, Kara, for joining us today, for sharing your experiences and your insights to our listeners. We hope you are inspired by today's discussion and encouraged to think about how you can contribute to sustainability in your own ways.
Thank you.
We have a reoccurring segment on the show called Matter of the Month, where we talk about hot topics in the district. This month, VSB received funding for a new school at Olympic Village and expansion of Henry Hudson Elementary. Families have eagerly awaited for this moment, especially those in the Olympic Village area. Here to tell us more is Victoria Young, VSB Board Chair. Welcome, Victoria.
Thanks. Good morning. I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for having me. We did just receive news that the Ministry of Education and Childcare has approved funding for $150 million to go towards an Olympic Village school and to expand Henry Hudson Elementary with an additional $15 million.
That's amazing news. So how big will the school be and where will it be located?
So the new Olympic Village school is going to be at Hinge Park in Olympic Village, and it's going to be built for 630 students and will be 4 stories high.
Do you know what the school will look like in terms of design or features for the school?
So it's preliminary right now. We will have, there are some spaces that will be pretty exciting, including an active rooftop, which is a private space for students so they can have outdoor activities and engage in various active activities. And that approach is so that children can play and learn by utilizing vertical design rather than horizontally, because we are limited for space there.
And how about childcare? Will there be any at the new Olympic Village school?
So the plan is currently that the school will house a neighborhood learning center, which will be 60 school-aged children spaces for before and after school childcare.
Okay, so just to make that clear, that's for school-age children and not kind of daycare or before the age of 5.
Correct.
Okay. So, Victoria, you mentioned the school costs $150 million to build at Olympic Village. That's quite a hefty price tag, especially from what I understand, a typical new school to build, that's elementary, you're looking more about like the $40 to $50 million. So why is there like a $100 million discrepancy?
It is a lot of money. It's a great deal amount of money. And there are a few reasons. We have a small footprint to build on. Construction costs are high. And then also we're building on a floodplain. We're really close to the ocean. There are a lot of dynamics that are involved. And so it is very expensive.
Okay, then why choose that location to build? I mean, couldn't you choose any other location to build then that's maybe not on a floodplain?
So as we know, space is limited in Vancouver and we see the need there. And so that's why we need to build an Olympic Village to support the families that need a school in that area.
And what about the school expansion at Hudson? That's very exciting as well. How big will the expansion be?
So as we know, Henry Hudson is currently being seismically rebuilt, and the addition will actually will house 6 new classrooms, and that will include more library space, additional resource rooms, and then also a covered outdoor area for all those rainy days in Vancouver. It'll also be great because the school will go from 390 students to a capacity of 535 students. So we get an additional 145 spaces, and construction starts for this, it's expected to start this summer for that expansion. And so it'll just be included in the ongoing construction that's currently happening.
So speaking of construction, Victoria, jumping back to Olympic Village, when will construction start for that school?
So we've had the land earmarked since 2007, so highly anticipated. We do believe construction to start in 2027.
Let's address the elephant in the room. A new school in Olympic Village has been identified as a top priority for VSB for years now, more than a decade actually. Why did it take so long for the school to receive funding?
You're right. A school in Olympic Village has been identified in our capital plan as a top priority for years. The reality is we are one of 60 school districts that the ministry has to provide funding to. They need to prioritize funding based on the needs of the entire province. And so for Vancouver, there's still significant space for students in many Vancouver schools. The province looks at this and then compares us to another district who, for example, does not have any physical space left to accommodate students. So when they look at funding, they prioritize where the most need is. And so, I mean, on behalf of the board, we've been advocating for a new school for a long time. And so while there is space, we do continue to see pockets of high enrollment growth in areas like Olympic Village and Kitsilano, where Henry Hudson is. So we expect to see more growth from new developments such as Sanok. And I'm really proud of this board for not giving up and for advocating for this much needed new school and for that school expansion.
I think also the uniqueness to Vancouver is we don't do busing in schools. Our catchment schools are walking friendly, whereas in other school districts, they bus. So, when they see space, then they could easily just drive an extra 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And that's very different for Vancouver. We're one of the very few, maybe if not only, district that does not provide busing because our catchment schools are so local and in each neighborhood.
Yeah, and the funding actually alleviates some pressure that we do have and that we do see in the communities. And so we extend, I do want to say that our gratitude goes out to the ministry for the support in providing the funding for this much needed school in Olympic Village.
Okay, let's pivot because I know the Olympic Village School will be located at Hinge Park, like you mentioned earlier. But we've also heard concerns from many residents about losing the only green space in the neighborhood. Why did the district choose this location to build a school?
I understand that green space is important to those who live in Vancouver, and we do work closely with the City of Vancouver and the Park Board, and we have built a great relationship with them over the years. So what's great is we did secure a lease for the site, and that was finalized and approved by City Council at the City of Vancouver. And so that site was identified as part of the city's Southeast False Creek official development plan, which was adopted in 2007 by City Council. And then in 2021, we actually signed the ground lease with the city. The Vancouver School Board and the city signed that lease together. And so currently, we understand green space is important. So Park Board is actually currently initiating the design phase for a new park east of Olympic Village neighborhood. Right now, it's just called East Park. But, I'd recommend following the Park Board for the most up-to-date information about that park.
So it sounds like the land was identified by the City of Vancouver as part of their Southeast False Creek development plan. And we kind of, we're obviously going to accept the land if that is secured for us. How much does the lease cost?
Well, so a nominal amount in keeping with the City of Vancouver's practice. City and the Vancouver School Board have a long-standing practice of entering into nominal leases for school sites. The city does not require us to pay fair market value, as sections of the Local Government Act require municipalities to collect school site acquisition fees from developers. So then that's on behalf of school boards, and that doesn't apply to the City of Vancouver. So a new school is going to meet the needs of the growing population, and it'll allow kids to attend school in their neighborhood. So the Southeast False Creek Olympic Village area has experienced significant growth, as we know, over the last decade, and it's expected to grow further over the next 10 years.
Yeah, definitely. At the rate of immigration in Canada right now, we're seeing a population boost for sure. And in those very popular areas, high density areas, we continue to see more families go there. And, no longer do families really care about living in a single detached home. Now it's all, they can live in an apartment in a high density area. Victoria, is there anything else that you would like to add?
That we thank the families that have been waiting patiently for this school. We understand that, things take time, and that our gratitude also goes out to the ministry for seeing the need and hearing our voices here in Vancouver, and for funding our new school in Olympic Village. I also want to thank our staff at the Vancouver School Board, our partners with the city and with Park Board. The relationship that we have with them is why we are here today with the land and with the funding. And so it's a collective effort with those parties and with the ministry. So thank you for all the hard work, for all of the different phases that we go through to get to this decision.
Thank you for being here today, Victoria. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in to VSB After the Bell. We release episodes at the end of every month. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any episodes. We'll catch up with you then.
Thanks for having me.
Special thanks to music teacher Mr. Bonnell and the Nightingale Elementary students for the original theme song. Episodes are released at the end of every month. And if you have an idea for a podcast episode, let us know by emailing us at communications@vsb.bc.ca. And don't forget to subscribe to VSB After the Bell on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
After the bell with the VSB.